Greetings. This is Ham Radio GMRS Test and Review. My name is Dave. My call sign is N8DAV, and the motto for my channel is one test is worth 1,000 expert opinions. Today, we're going to talk about external antenna tuners. In particular, we're going to be talking about the little cheapy models that you find on AliExpress or Amazon with a model number of ATU-100. Now, I happen to have a couple of different models here, and you can see right here. The one on the right is battery powered only, and the one on the left is powered by an external power source, whether it be a LifePo battery or a power supply of some sort. And I'll show you that in just a few minutes. So I'll go over the two different models and their performance, and then you can kind of decide for yourself what you think you'd like to get if that is something that you were desiring. Okay, I'll be right back. All right, the first antenna tuner I have here is a battery operated only version. Now what that means is that it has a USB-C charging port here underneath the green button, and it means that it only operates off of the internal battery that is in here. And the reason why I bought this is because I intend to start doing, which is parks on the air, and it's a portable type situation. If you're not familiar with HF yet, then you'll find out that there's a thing called Parks on the Air where you go out to a park with a radio and you start transmitting from there. And so with that, I decided that I would like to have an antenna tuner to take with me at all times. And this one operates on battery power only, internal battery power only. So basically, you have a little screen here which tells you your capacitance and your resistance. It also tells you your power output and what the SWR is. You have a reset button right here, the little green button, and then the on-off switch here. On the back, you have just your antenna in and out, and that's it. There's nothing else to this particular automatic antenna tuner. Now that's what the ATU stands for. I picked this one up for $52 off of AliExpress. Now, when I got it, I was a little dismayed because it turns out that if you go out to some of the Facebook pages and websites, you'll find that people were getting these and the batteries were loose and the unit didn't work. So you basically had one of two choices. You either could try to send it back, and most of the time anything off of AliExpress you don't get to send back, or you can repair it yourself. And this one came with the batteries intact and everything was working on it at that point. So it's a very compact little unit. It takes up to 100 watts of sideband power, and you know, it does its job. Does it do a great job? I would have to say no. It does a good job most of the time. And here's what I mean by that. Whenever the battery starts to get down below a certain voltage, and I don't know what that voltage is because it doesn't tell you on the screen, what it does is it does not tune properly at that point. And you never know when you're going to get it to that point until it's a little too late. And that's what I don't like about the battery powered. However, it does last a long time on battery. I think I ran it 2 or 3 days here in my shack on a single charge. So that's kind of a good thing. Now, let me turn it on for you so you can see the screen itself. All right. The top line is your power output as measured by the antenna tuner. The second line is the SWR. That's the final SWR as measured by the antenna tuner. And then the bottom two lines tell you the parameters of how the antenna tuner actually tuned your antenna. All right, so that's basically it. There's really not much else to these. And the green button, sometimes if you want to tune to a frequencies that's only slightly different than the last one that you tuned, you could try it and it may not tune. So you hit the green button, and you'll see it says reset, and then when it comes back, then it'll automatically, it deletes the previous tune that it knows about, and then it'll retune when you go to transmit. Now, these antenna tuners, they require that you only put in about 10 or 12 watts when you want it to tune. If you try tuning it with 100 watts, you may not get a very good tune out of it. I've run into that problem quite a bit, but I do believe I read somewhere where it says to turn your power down to about 10 or 12 watts in order to tune. The problem with this is that if you're running QRP, which is only 5 watts, this may or may not tune properly with only 5 watts. It really needs 10 watts in order to tune properly. So if you want to use an antenna tuner for QRP, please get the ATU-10, which is designed for QRP work. Okay, it's a very similar antenna tuner, but it has different parameters on it, specifically for QRP. All right, and I will show you how this works in just a few minutes. Let's get back to the other antenna. Now, this antenna tuner is an external power only. It doesn't have its own internal power source. And this is put out by a ham radio operator with a call sign of N7DDC. And this is sold by a company called Malahit. You might be familiar with them. They put out a nice line of SDR radios, both on Amazon and AliExpress. And this is also sold on AliExpress. However, I decided to buy it on Amazon just in case it didn't work when I got it. I wanted to be able to return it. Here at the top, the controls is the power on-off switch. This is the antenna bypass button. This is the automatic manual tune button, and then of course the reset button, and then the screen has the exact same information as the other one. I can't turn it on, of course, because it's external powered. On the back, you'll see it has a lug for hooking up your ground wire. This is your external battery port, and then of course your input and your input and output antenna connections. All right. So I'll operate both of these so you can kind of see what they do and see how everything works. And I want to see if they work similarly or not. Okay. All right. So when I come back, I'll have them set up. All right. Here I have my 10-meter export radio on the 10-meter band, 28.305 megahertz. And above it, I have the antenna tuner. So what I've done is I've set the mode to FM, as you can see right here, because you need to use AM, FM, or CW, something that has a consistent and constant carrier when you hit the push to talk button. You want that because the particular antenna tuner requires a constant carrier. If you use sideband or something to that effect, it does not have a carrier until you speak into the mic. So what you want is something that's going to have a constant carrier. And so I'm going to hit the push to talk button right now. And of course, we're on a dummy load. And so when I hit the push to talk button, we are going to have an SWR of 1.5, and that's going to show up on the screen right here. Okay, so you can see 1.5 to 1. Now I'm going to turn the antenna tuner on. All right, and now I'm going to hit the same button again, and you may hear it tune, you may not. It's this one's pretty quiet. But it tuned, according to it, to an SWR of 1.16 at 10 watts. And as you can see, the SWR that the radio thinks is 1.0. So it did its job. It did a good job. All right, the nice thing about these antenna tuners is that unless you change the frequency drastically, it will stay at this tune. So eventually, it should stay around the 1.0 range on the radio, or 1.16 on the antenna tuner every time you transmit. So now all you would do now is go back to upper sideband. There we go. And now I can transmit and talk to people all I want on the 10 meter band, just the lower portion of the 10 meter band. If I was going to go to the upper portion of the 10 meter band, I'd retune. All right. And if you want to give it a retune and force a retune, you just hit this reset button. You'll see reset on the little tuna screen. Okay, where it says tune. Reset. Hit this again. All right, and this is one of the problems that I have found with this particular antenna tuner. Oh, sorry, I am messing myself up. It's not the problem with the antenna tuner. It is an operator error. All right, so reset on FM. As you saw, it went from 1.5 SWR to 1.0, and of course the antenna tuner is at 1.16. All right, let me set up the other antenna tuner, and I'll get right back with you. Okay, we're back. We have the other antenna tuner on there now. This antenna tuner requires an external power source, which I've given it. And once again, if I go to transmit on this frequency, you will see now it's at 2.0 to 1, which is low enough for the radio, but if you want to tune it a little bit farther, we can. So let me turn this on. Okay, and it's ready to go. I've got it set for 10 watts, and let's try it. And it is not working. What is the problem here? There we go, it tuned. All right, so the power again is at 10 watts, SWR 1.15, and the SWR on the radio is reading correctly at 1.1. And there you go. That's exactly how these things work. If I hit the bypass button, which bypasses the antenna tuner, we should get back up to 1.5 to 2.0 SWR on the radio, which we're at 1.9, which is about what we figured. Go back to the antenna tuner itself, and we're back down to 1.1. So as you saw, these cheap little antenna tuners do work, and they work pretty well, and these two work very similarly, as you can see. And also, they are a little persnickety, they're a little touchy. Sometimes they need to be pushed twice before they work once. After you get them to work the first time, then basically they usually work every time after that. So, you know, they're not perfect by any means, but they're pretty good for what they are. This one that's powered by the external power source is much better. It works more consistently than the battery-powered one. I told you the battery-powered one, when the battery starts to get a little low, it doesn't tell you, and then it just stops working very well, and it stops working properly. So anyway, these are antenna tuners, in particular the ATU-100 model. You can see for yourself that they work okay. Like I said, I got the battery-powered one off of AliExpress for around $50, and I got the powered one, I think, for like $84 off of Amazon. And I'll put links to the two products on Amazon for you to take a look at if that's something that you'd like to buy. All right. Anyway, this is Dave with Ham Radio GMRS Test and Review saying 73 and so long.